School. Glad that you're here this evening. For my building report this evening, I had kind of a, what you might call an aha moment as I traveled the building just in the last week or so, as I was kind of racking my brain about just what do I want to share with the community, with the Board of Education. I stumbled upon this fabulous example of what happens when one of our very, very talented teachers takes some of her personal interests, weaves them together with her expertise, and throws in content standards not only from her own discipline, physical education, but also from Ohio and U.S. history. And so this evening I'll be talking to you a little bit about a lesson that I got to see right here in this very room, led by Miss Liz McDowell, who's with us this evening. Thank you, Miss McDowell. Miss McDowell was teaching our fourth graders a lesson on the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Lake Erie. If you know your U.S. and Ohio history, you know that that was just off the waters of Put-in Bay on Lake Erie, between Oliver Hazard Perry and the forces of the British Navy during the War of 1812. And that battle was recently reconstructed, reenacted, up there, the tall ships in Put-in Bay. And Miss McDowell was able to take some of her personal interests and bring them together in a way that really helped our fourth graders see exactly what that would have been like. What I'll be sharing with you this evening is a video in several segments. The first segment, you'll see Miss McDowell doing some teaching, not just on physical education standards, but also bringing in vocabulary and terminology that they need to know to help fully contextualize just what this battle was all about out there on Lake Erie, not so far from our very own home. In the next clip, and I need you over here to get the volume before I blast you out, I get an opportunity to interview. Can you tell me what the mat represents in this game?
Okay. First, the map, it represents our ship and all the things that we have.
All right, so that's your ship. Gunner, what does the cone represent? Oh, your flag. And what were the flags that would have been involved in the Battle of Lake Erie? What were the countries involved? Okay, very good. And tell me, what does the scooter represent, guys? Why do you need a longboat if you have a great big ship? Okay. And Eric, I noticed this other team has these white pegs on theirs. What do the white things represent, Eric? The sails of the ships, because did the tall ships have motors? No, they were sailing ships. All right, then. Well, now that they have their nautical terminology all set and you have an idea of what you're going to see next, now it's time to don't give up the ship. The actual battle takes place here in the gym. And the object is the children, the sailors on those long boats, are firing cannonballs, also known as foam balls, at the masts, those white pegs, of the other long boats. And when they run out of ammunition, one of the other sailors' jobs was to travel in the longboat, looks an awful lot like a scooter, to get more ammunition back to their ship. teamwork. They learned about U.S. history, they learned about Ohio history. They learned about an important historic site just a few miles away from our very own backyards. And when I came across that, I knew right away, this is what I wanted to share with you this evening as an example of the great teaching and learning that goes on every day here at Echo Hills. So I'm very pleased to be able to offer that example to you this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please recognize Nick Dell for
Mr. Albert, please recognize the kids that were in that. That was quite an accomplishment for all.
I'll be sure to mention it to them tomorrow. That was Miss Ratt's fourth grade class. And there was just so many of them in that shot, I couldn't really properly credit them by name, but I'll be sure to mention them tomorrow morning in the announcements.
To have them learn without knowing that they're learning is awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Well done.
Okay, I wish to recommend that the Board of Education approve the minutes from the following board meetings. August 13th, a special meeting, and August 26th, a regular meeting.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Spangler, seconded by Mrs. Powers. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers? Aye. Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong?
No.
And moving on to the treasurer's recommendations, please.
Okay, thank you. Under recommendation, start with financial report for August. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the financial report for August 2013 as presented in Exhibit Number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Powers? Aye. Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Okay, the second item is a check register for August 2013. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the check register for August 2013 as presented in Exhibit Number 2.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Armstrong, seconded by Mrs. Powers. Roll call.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers? Aye. Next item, permanent appropriation resolution for fiscal year 2014. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the permanent appropriation as presented in Exhibit Number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by Mr. Armstrong. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers? Aye. Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
And the last item is Fund 022. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve establishing Fund 022 as presented in Exhibit Number 8.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Armstrong, seconded by Mr. Bonacci. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers? Aye. Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright?
Aye.
And that concludes my portion of the agenda.
Now we have comments from the audience. Do we have any cards? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to Dr. Jones, your recommendations.
Thanks, Mrs. Wright. We should recommend that the Board of Education approve the certified and classified employee recommendation as presented in Exhibit Number 4.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonacci?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Item B is contract for services, Harbor Education Services. This is another LEAP placement. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the contract with Harbor Education Services to provide special ed services for in their LEAP program in the 13-14 school year, as recommended by the student's IEP team for student number 12 through 35, 59, as presented in Exhibit Number 5.
So moved. Second. Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by
Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Benach?
Aye.
Item C is contract for services with NeoNet for educational technology services. I wish to recommend the Board of Education put the contract with Northeast Ohio Network for Educational Technology, also known as NeoNet, for the 2013-14 school year, as presented in Exhibit number 6.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Powers, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call.
Could we have discussion on this one, please? Before I vote, I'm going to explain why I'm going to vote the way I am. I'm going to, there's a couple levels that I don't agree with this. One of them is we're voting on something now that obviously we'll receive your services back at the first of the month. Obviously, the other services ended July 31st, and this should have been to the board before before they start providing the services. So obviously, by backdating this, they're already providing the services. So it looks like us approving it's just a mere formality, rather than the board to really look at it and approve it. Second, I've seen no analysis on this. In asking for an analysis on it, you just said, well, if there's more people, more people for this as a team, I guess is what the phrase is. But now we have a team supporting this. And that's fine, but that team's also supporting other districts and other areas where before we had dedicated people and there's the same cost. I'd still like to see side by side before the board approve this. I personally like to see side by side. What are we getting that we're not getting now? Why, the change? And the dollars are the same, but so then we have to look at the intrinsics and what we're getting versus what we're not getting. A team, now, unfortunately, there's a lot of teams and a lot of help desks out there, but they can be busy with something else at that time, where we wouldn't have two people dedicated, or at least one person dedicated, because I know they would stagger their time off or something like that. And they were very open with their hours and when they helped and that, even though the contract did say that a certain time frame, they did move their hours around as we requested. So to the board, this is why I'm going to vote no on this.
Couple points of clarification. The contract that ended July 31st, and we went on a month to month. So it actually was, September before NeoNet, started to help us. I think the board was, including yourself, were very clear that we were considering this, and I didn't get any objections from you or anybody else at that point.
Yeah, okay, this is a board's discussion, but let me bring a rebuttal back to that at this point in time. And my rebuttal, this was exactly what you said, that you were considering, not that you made the decision without the board approval. Okay, now that's, this is a board now, the vote, we're going to vote.
This is important for the board's knowledge. We were going month by month as we were looking into the NeoNet services, and the two gentlemen that you speak of ended the contract with us on August 31st. We were actually planning on going further into the year before we terminated services with them, and we would have been involved in that. But they chose to end the relationship with us on August 31st. In addition to that, in the analysis, for the same amount of money, we are getting maybe more than two people every day, for sure, a minimum of two people every day. Depending on the problem, we may have more. And the former contracts were for 227 days. There are 260 days in a full-time year. This contract does give the district 260 days of help desk
Okay,
services.
now let's get back, because I didn't get the analysis, like I asked, and now you're giving all this analysis, but I did go back and I did do a little bit of analysis. Yes, it was 227 work days, but they could overlap. So we could have 264 days in there. depending on how, this is the board's, okay, now this is the board's discussion at this point.
I do value their input.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's have the discussion. Okay, let's have the discussion. Let me go back on this. We knew the contract was going to be up July 31st. When you know a contract's going to be up July 31st, why are we voting on it in September 23rd? We would have voted on this back in June.
We agreed to go month to month with them,
Not with Neonet?
so, with the previous company, and consider our options, and as Mrs. Barton explained, they terminated the agreement after that 1 month deal that we agreed to.
They terminated in July.
No,
August 31st, and that's when we found out. Fortunately for us, Neonet was right on it the day after the holiday and had people there to assist us and have worked with us throughout this process before we could bring it to you.
What were we analyzing? You told me there was no analysis to do. What were we analyzing between Neonet and them? Because it was before the last meeting that you said you were considering it. So what were we analyzing? Why didn't we have an analysis or something prior to that?
but I'm not sure what
You said we were considering
Right.
prior to our last meeting.
That's correct.
And when I asked for an analysis of it, I have an email here, that said that there was no analysis to be done, that we were getting more certain. Now, the thing is, like I said, all I got was that there was a team, okay? Now, a team. I'm just explaining my vote. You can vote however you want, okay? A team is servicing other districts. There's no guarantee. We've had Neonet in here before, and we dropped Neonet.
No.
We've had Neonet for,
We have had Neonet in the system ever since the inception of it, because they, for this area, this region, house the mainframe
we've
for the
dealt with
budgetary
Neonet
items.
before. We have dealt with Neonet before.
We deal with Neonet in our office all the time.
I know.
They house our software. This is a different relationship with
That's-
Neonet. so
I
we've
understand,
never had-
I understand that. And we are now changing, I've had no complaints on the other one. I've heard no complaints. I've had emails saying how well we were serviced before, and all of a sudden we're changing, and I still don't see it. I don't see the analysis. I don't see what we're getting besides a team of people that may be there or may not be. Because if that team's busy with someone else, with those resources, they have limited resources. Now, their limited resources are key. If they're busy with, I don't know, like you said, they have Northeast Ohio. If they're busy in other parts of Northeast Ohio that came in before our emergency, we're gonna have to wait. Or if we had dedicated people here, they're gonna get service. And
We
that's
have to
my.
wait either way.
Pardon?
If there were a lot of calls, they would wait with a team or with two. So they brought this before us, and as you said, we can vote as we
That's my
wish.
opinion.
Okay, thanks for your opinion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spangler.
Aye.
Mrs. Wright.
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong.
No.
Mr. Panacci.
Aye.
Mrs. Powers. Aye.
Item D is the high school track restoration project change order. I wish you recommend the Board of Education approve the change orders for additional project costs, increasing the Tiger paving contract presented in Exhibit 7.
So moved. Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call.
Can we have a discussion on the high school track? real quick?
Sure.
I'd like to ask one question, and I believe, can I ask this of the architect who's here, who was here?
We have Chaz Schreckenberger, who was the president and principal on the project, and he is in the audience.
The only thing that concerned me is the amount of $1,829 for the sealer around that track. I saw that, sealer, and that looks like something, is that something we'll have to do every year?
I don't know if it is like mechanics, but it's something that the track itself needs to be maintained in general. Any itself has to be maintained regardless of.
Right. And the way that sealer looked, it looked like something that would get scuffed up and take wear, and that we might have to be into that every year. I want to make
I
sure.
don't know that it's every year, but it would have to be looked at every periodically to make sure that you maintain it properly.
So
So
that's going to be an on.
it would be something that would help the track live longer.
And the other overrun was the track surface on top of the pits, the aluminum.
The real reason for the additional cost was the fact that the sequencing of the events, the pit normally should be installed prior to the track surface.
Right.
However, because of the excessive amount of rain this year, this summer, it wasn't able to be done prior to the schedule of the paver. In order to keep the paver, if we lose the window of opportunity for the paver, it could have been delayed much longer. So the decision was made to have the paver go ahead and do the track, even though the pit was not installed yet. So what it really required was the amount of the additional cost to remobilize the paver once the pit
That was the $5,500, majority of the.
which was the bulk of the additional cost.
To your point, Mr. Armstrong, we had to custom order the covers, and we learned after we ordered those that it would help it would help with sealing them, and since Heiberger was already working with the sealing, it was cheaper to have them do it than have the custom pit cover company do it. So they agreed to, once the custom covers came in, to take that sealant over the top of that to help protect those covers.
So did that reduce the cost of the other side then? I mean, you said it was cheaper to do it, so if it's cheaper, then I should see something else in the contract come down.
Well, that.
And offset, but I don't, I see just an increase.
But the long jump fits weren't part of the Heiberger 80.
That's what I was getting at,
That's
the
why
long
this is
jump
so
covers were
hard.
not part of the bid originally, so we didn't think about that, that's something we left off for that.
No, it would have been another contract.
Yes, we left off for that bid to cover those long jump covers. Okay. All right. All right.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, yes. Mrs. Wright. Aye. Mr. Armstrong.
All right.
Mr. Bonacci.
Aye.
Mrs. Powell. Aye. Mr. Spangler.
Item E is Coca-Cola contract, I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve to direct the sponsorship proceeds during the term of the Coca-Cola contract for the athletic fund with the commissions from sales of the Coca-Cola product dispersed to buildings and boosters responsible for those sales.
So moved. Moved by Mrs. Wright, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
All right.
Mr. Bonacci.
Aye.
Mrs. Powers. Aye. Mr. Spangler.
Aye.
Mrs. Wright.
Aye.
Item F is Suburban League membership. As I think most people in the audience know, the Suburban League, which has been in existence since 1949 with 8 members, has made an invitation to a number of schools to join the athletic conference. And it was kind of fueled by Green deciding to go to the Federal League, leaving them with 7, so they made a decision to either add 1 or go to some kind of expansion. They chose to add schools to create a big school, small school division, yet to be named, and that invitation has been extended to us and some of our historical rivals like Cuyahoga Falls and Hudson in particular, and most recently with our affiliation with the NOC Twinsburg. Cuyahoga Falls did not, Solon did not receive that invitation, but the administration from those 4 schools right up 91 in consultation with the boards of education and coaches and some boosters felt that this was advantageous for our school district to recommend to the board to accept the membership. Probably the biggest, even though we really cherish our relationship with the Northeast Ohio Conference, and that was Hudson, Cuyahoga Falls, Twinsburg, Talmadge, Kent Roosevelt, which we understand is going to accept their invitation as well. So we'll be able to keep it for the middle school kids more locally. Not to say there may be some trips, that there's a little bit of travel, but I think this is a great opportunity for our kids.
Don't you believe that parents will enjoy it too, because they'll be able to travel shorter distances to see their kids play?
I certainly believe so. And as former principal of Talmadge High School, I can tell you that the Suburban League goes beyond just athletics. They include opportunities for musicians and academic competitions, and hopefully they'll be able to expand that further.
Any pushback on getting out a year, 2015?
Well, we're looking at continuing this year,
And next year.
the next year, and that's what the league bylaws speak to. At the league meeting, we announced a little bit of pushback, and we missed the deadline by a month, but I think that we're all settled on it.
A little bit of emotion on it.
I think it's, yeah, and then where are we gonna go now, that this is kind of a done deal, so. But I understand there's been, a couple meetings taking place, some of the Cleveland area schools, and there's some pretty nice options, I believe, out there for.
Yeah.
And looking at the mileage is unbelievable how much you cut down. I've heard nothing but good news about it, so sounds good.
My only regret is, I think through the NOC, is that we established a real strong relationship with Solon, like I mentioned, and great facilities and student athletes programs, and have them involved with us was very positive for our kids. So that's the one regret, that they were not included in this. I'm sure they're going to land on their feet, and we'll still be able to maintain some of our rivalries with them in various sports, but we're just hoping they can be part of this.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Powers, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call.
Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wood? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Item G is the adoption of the updated Neola board policies. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the adoption of updated Neola board policies as presented in the attached exhibit.
Second. Moved by Mr. Spangler, seconded by Mrs. Wright. Roll call.
Mrs. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Item H is extended field trip. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the following extended field trip, which allows qualifying members of the boys' golf team to attend the state tournament in late October.
So moved. Moved by Mrs. Powers, seconded by Mr. Spangler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers?
Aye.
Item I is gifts. I wish to recommend the Board of Education approve the following gifts. Kinder Care donated school supplies to the district valued at $10, and Debbie Konovish donated school supplies to the district valued at $300. These are just various miscellaneous supplies, and we have an administrative meeting on Wednesday, and we're going to share those with our administrators pending their approval, and if they have ideas of kids who may be in need and may use, take back to the buildings, we'll make that available as well. Backpacks, pens, pencils, those kind of
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Spangler, seconded by Mr. Armstrong. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Wright? Aye. Mr. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Mrs. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Spangler?
Aye.
As well, my items. Mrs. Wright?
Thanks. Okay, any old business?
to say that it was, what's going on now, especially with the new stadium, I was at that band show, I saw, they said it was 1,091 students on the field at one time. And this was after it had rained the night before, which would never have happened in the old stadium. Even though as much as I love playing football in the mud, it's greatly benefiting a whole lot of students out there. And it's just unbelievable.